Down there.
Just leave him!
I'll help. Hurry!
What's good, everyone? It's your boy Dak908, aka the Dig Dug himself, and ladies and gents, Monster and Wilds is here, and today I'm going to teach you guys how to fight the Chatacabra. Now, the Chatacabra is an incredibly difficult monster. It's actually fairly easy, but he has a couple of little tricks about him that you should probably at least have a heads up on. Now, he himself isn't a true threat. He is an amphibian, so he kind of hops around a little bit. He's very slow, so he's not going to be running all over the place and getting you all mixed up and confused and whatnot. That's not his style. He's not a huge monster, so you're not having to like try to fight his entire mass of a body. Chatacabra is a little small boy, very cute little thing, if you will, but his only real thing you have to truly worry about, if anything, is that when he does get upset, he will secrete this mucus-like substance from his forearms, and then he'll drag his arms along the ground, adding stones and rocks and whatever to his arms, making it to where whenever he does throw out attacks, they have a little extra oomph to it. When monsters get enraged, they already do have a tiny little attack bonus. His is that he has the enraged attack bonus and the tiny bonus he gets from putting the rocks on his arms. But in normal gameplay, he'd more actually use his tongue to attack. Now, his tongue is actually his weak spot, so if you actually try and do the biggest number of damage you can to Chatacabra, he's slinging that thing around all over the place. Try to attack it if you can. His tongue is also going to be the thing that he uses to like kind of extend his range a little bit. These attacks will actually knock you down or have the hunter stumble a little bit, so you kind of have to watch your footing and whatnot. But other than that, he's not too crazy. There's not very many things about him that actually warrant too much distress. Try as you may to stay in front of him. Make sure that he doesn't actually try to run away too often, because he tends to do that. If you actually have access to it, use flash pods. Flash pods are amazing to keep a monster from running away and keeping him in one area if you actually really want to like fight him a little bit better. Weapons that you could probably use to fight him. He's still really early on, so whatever you have at hand is actually going to be more than useful. Again, try to make sure you can actually attack his tongue. It might be a little harder to do, but if you're a gunner or even a bow user, you might be able to actually attack it much easier compared to, let's say, like a dual blade user or something like that. Lance, like myself, is actually quite easy to do so, but then again, he doesn't have a whole lot of HP, so you don't really need to truly focus fire down on the tongue. He's going to fall pretty easily. Outside of that, let's actually talk about the things you can get from him. So the gear that you're going to make out of Chatacabra is going to be kind of good, but the way the game works, it actually makes it a little difficult for you to actually get the gear because there's a whole lot of railroading that actually happens. So if you want the Chatacabra gear, you must first fight Chatacabra, go through a bit of a story, and then maybe go back to fight more Chatacabra or get the remaining parts you would actually need. So after you defeat Chatacabra and you go back to the smithy and decide to actually make the gear, first and foremost, pretty cheap stuff. It is low rank, however, so all the gear is going to be really easy to actually get. But when you get the armor itself, you're going to try and go for helm, mail, vambrace, coil, and greaves. You know, top to bottom, if you will. Now, the whole armor set has some skills on it that's actually pretty cool. Especially this early on, you get Speed Eating 3. Now, Speed Eating is a skill that allows you to increase the speed in which you consume the items that you're using. So say you're taking a potion, right? It increases the speed in which you actually take the potion for the whole healing thing to take effect. And wearing the entire set gives you Speed Eating 3, which is a fantastic skill early on. On top of that, it gives you Item Prolonger. Item Prolonger is an ability that increases the effect duration of your item. So, for example, there are things in this game kind of hard to find called Adamant Seed or Might Seed. These are items you can use to increase your attack, but for only a limited amount of time. So let's say, for example, it's 5 minutes, right? If you have Item Prolonger, it's going to extend it by 5 minutes plus 10%. But if you have Item Prolonger 3, which this armor set only gives you Item Prolonger 2, it increases it by a quarter. So a quarter of 5 minutes, dude, I can't match. It's like a minute and some change, I think. So you have, instead of 5 minutes, you have like 6 minutes, 15 seconds, or whatever. It's a great skill to have if you're actually someone who likes to use items to buff yourself. So all in all, this armor set, not very bad at all. And lastly, his group skill is Hunter-Gatherer. It's a pretty cool skill that increases the speed in which you gather items and prevents you getting knocked back when gathering or carving. Honestly, a great first armor set to have when you're just trying to get a bunch of materials, gather a bunch of materials, just get yourself set up for the future. I hardly think this is a bad armor set. It looks pretty good too, so can't really complain on it. I need to put a small aside in here. I forgot to show you guys what the armor looked like. I'm currently in the process of making a ton of videos, so I apologize for putting this in so slapdash, but the Chatacabra's weapons are actually very solid. They have roughly the same as damage output as the bone weapons you're probably capable of getting right now, but with the small addition of having a defense bonus directly attached to the weapon, with a little extra yellow sharpness compared to the standard bone weapons. So realistically, the higher number is good, but the sharpness isn't that great. But this early on, you just want a weapon with bigger number, and the added defensive bonus is actually quite nice. So to wrap up, Chatacabra isn't a super tough monster. It's not a really difficult fight. Very good early game monster, just enough to kind of get you sorted with the weapon that you're trying to use. It's a great monster to use as like a punching bag if you're not sure what weapon to actually use. He doesn't have a whole lot of gimmicks to them. The gimmicks themselves just being the fact that he can put the saliva on his arms, and then that saliva will actually be used to gather rocks in his small area around him, and it'll give his attacks a little extra oomph. Granted, he does this whenever he's enraged. He does kind of like to run a little bit, so if you have flash pods to kind of keep him in one area, that's actually a great mechanic you can use to minimize him running all over the place. But if he does tend to run all over the place, he always tends to go into an area where you can probably drop a rock on him. So whenever you walk into an area with him, look up in the sky, take a look around your area, make sure you can or cannot drop a rock on him if need be. But if by chance you actually have a weapon with an element attached to it, lightning or electric or thunder, whatever you want to call it, is the element you're going to want to use to actually do the most damage to him. But then again, it's just a Chatacabra. He's not too difficult, and you probably won't need the element to do any additional damage to actually put him under the ground. But with that said, everyone, it's been your boy Dak908, aka the Dig Dug himself. Thanks so much for watching. Quick little video. Chatacabra isn't too difficult, so hopefully you guys find Monster in the Wild really fun, and you stay tuned for the next couple of videos. And may the Desire Center forever be in your favor.